If you've ever sat down to rest and felt uneasy almost straight away, that feeling usually comes from somewhere. For some people, relaxing doesn't feel natural. It feels off, not intensely, just enough to make them reach for something. Their phone, a chore, a message. Anything that turns stillness back into movement. From the outside, it doesn't look like much, but it usually points to something deeper. A lot of people assume it just means they have a busy mind, or that they're naturally restless, or that they simply don't know how to switch off. But often, the problem isn't rest itself. It's what appears when nothing is distracting you. You can see it in ordinary moments. Someone finally gets time to slow down, but instead of enjoying it, they start thinking about what still needs doing. They put something on to watch, but their attention keeps drifting back to unfinished things. They get a free afternoon and somehow fill it with errands, emails, and small tasks that make the time feel less wasted. The body has stopped. The mind hasn't. For a lot of people, that split is familiar. People who feel guilty relaxing are often responding to more than the present moment. They're responding to what rest has meant in their life for a long time. For some, being useful became important very early. They were the responsible one, the easy one, the one who helped, the one who didn't ask for much. Sometimes those traits were natural, but sometimes they were also a way of keeping life smoother around them. If being low maintenance reduced tension, you learned to be low maintenance. If being productive brought approval, warmth, or less criticism, you learned to stay productive. If rest was treated like something that had to be earned, then after a while, it stopped feeling like a normal need. It started feeling like something that needed permission. That's why guilt can arrive so quickly in quiet moments, not because the person has done anything wrong, because some part of them still links rest with risk. The risk of being judged, the risk of looking lazy, the risk of falling behind, the risk of not feeling valuable in a clear, visible way. Most people don't think about it like that. They just notice that they can work for hours without resistance. But the moment they stop, something in them tightens. For many people, this isn't really about discipline. It's about worth. If someone spends enough years being recognized for being capable, calm, useful, and dependable, those qualities can stop feeling like choices. They begin to feel like the safest version of the self. So when there is nothing to do, the discomfort isn't only about inactivity. It's also about losing the role that has been holding everything together. Without something to handle, who am I here? That question often stays in the background, but it shapes more behavior than people realize. It shows up in people who can't fully enjoy a day off, in people who feel guilty sleeping in people who reply to messages even when they're drained because leaving them unanswered creates tension, in people who keep themselves slightly busy during downtime, as if full rest might bring them too close to something they don't want to feel. Sometimes that something is tiredness, sometimes it's resentment, sometimes it's sadness, sometimes it's just the strange emptiness that appears when there is no role to step into for a while. That's part of why busyness can feel so useful. It doesn't only fill time, it gives shape to the day. It gives the mind something to hold. It keeps certain feelings at a distance. When life is busy, there is always something to respond to, something to organize, something to fix, something to stay ahead of. That movement can make a person feel contained. Rest is different. Rest leaves space. And space can feel exposed to people who are used to feeling safer inside tasks, responsibilities, and roles. That's why some people don't actually feel calm when they finally stop. They feel unsettled. Their mind starts scanning. What am I forgetting? What should I be doing? What haven't I dealt with yet? That reaction often gets dismissed as personality. But a lot of the time, it's conditioning. Maybe rest used to attract criticism. Maybe it only came after everything else was done, which meant it never felt fully free. Maybe the adults around you were always stressed, always busy, always stretched too far, and slowing down was treated like something unrealistic. You don't have to be taught those rules directly to absorb them. Sometimes you just grow up around them long enough that they become normal. That's how emotional rules settle in. Quietly, repeatedly, until they stop feeling like rules at all. They just feel like you. So a person grows up thinking, I'm just someone who needs to stay busy. But sometimes what they really mean is, being useful has felt safer than being at ease for as long as I can remember. That's not weakness. It's protection. It also explains why this pattern often comes with others. People who feel guilty relaxing are often the same people who struggle to ask for help, feel responsible for other people's moods, overthink whether they've disappointed someone, or feel uneasy when they are not being visibly good in some way. The deeper theme is not just perfectionism, it's self-management. The sense that staying helpful, steady, productive, or easy somehow keeps life from becoming heavier. And when that becomes automatic, even normal needs can start to feel loaded. Needing time alone can feel selfish. Feeling tired can feel weak. Doing nothing can feel irresponsible. A slow day can feel hard to enjoy because some part of the mind is still looking for proof that the time was used properly. Rest stops feeling like recovery. It starts feeling like something that has to be deserved. And once that happens, even peace can feel uncomfortable. There is something else underneath it too. Some people are not only avoiding rest, they are avoiding what comes up when life gets quiet. Because when there is nothing urgent to focus on, other things can rise more easily. Frustration, emotional exhaustion, the sense of caring too much for too long, the feeling that underneath all the competence, there is a person who has been living more from duty than from ease. Busyness can hide that for a while. It can make a person feel effective, functional, in control, but it can also keep them from noticing how much of their life has been built around staying useful. That is why people with this pattern are often admired. They seem reliable, steady, organized, mature. They get things done. They rarely become a problem for anyone. From the outside, that looks like strength. From the inside, it can feel like never fully arriving. Always a little alert, always slightly on call, always carrying the sense that there must be something else to finish before rest can really begin. And for many people, that point never quite comes. There is always one more task, one more thing to clear, one more reason to delay the moment of fully letting go. Not because they are shallow, not because they are obsessed with productivity for its own sake, because rest touches something deeper than time management. It touches identity, safety, worth. It brings a quiet question with it. If I'm not doing, fixing, helping, or carrying something, what exactly am I left with? That question can sit deeper than people realize, especially in people who were valued early for how little space they took up, how much they handled, or how easy they made things for everyone else. In that kind of emotional environment, usefulness can become more than a habit. It becomes a way of holding on to connection, a way of reducing friction, a way of feeling that your place is secure. So later in life, when there is finally room to rest, the nervous system doesn't always know how to settle into it cleanly. It stays slightly guarded, not because the present moment is unsafe, because the pattern is old. Seen that way, the behavior starts to make more sense. What looked like discipline can start to look more like tension. What looked like personality can start to look more like adaptation. What looked like being bad at relaxing can start to look more like a long habit of tying value to usefulness. The guilt was never just about rest. It was about what rest seemed to take away: the role, the proof, the structure, the visible sense of being enough. When you see that, the pattern stops feeling random. People who feel guilty relaxing are often carrying an old logic into quiet moments. Stay useful, stay safe, stay valuable. That logic may have made sense once, but it leaves a mark. It creates people who are very good at functioning and not always comfortable receiving. People who can carry a lot, but don't always know what to do with stillness. People who look fine from the outside, while inside, peace can feel oddly unfamiliar. The guilt isn't small. It's revealing. It points to how a person learned to measure themselves, what they came to associate with safety, what kind of self felt acceptable. And that is why the feeling can show up in a quiet room, on a free evening, with nothing actually wrong. Because sometimes the hard part is not doing more. It's being still without feeling that something important is slipping away. If this explains something you've felt for a long time, there's more to understand.